So good afternoon. For those of you who don't know, my name is Michael Howsky. I'm the contracts engineer for North District Maintenance. This is Brian Schilling. He's the former design engineer for North District Maintenance. Today's actually his first day at Canal. He's the new maintenance engineer there, but unfortunately for him, didn't get him out of this presentation, so. All right. So I'm going to quickly run through the agenda. I'll give you some background information on the storm, and then show you some pictures of the damages, talk about how we formulated a response to those damages, show you some pictures of the repairs, and after that, Brian will give you background information on the repairs to Bridge 105, which is Way Road over Burroughs Run. Okay, so let's begin with giving some background information on the storm. It started on Sunday, July 23rd, around 5 p.m., and it lasted until 4 a.m. on Monday, July 24th. It happened in northern Newcastle County. And the why is the easiest part. Brian was on vacation that week, so it was my problem, so that was great. Here's a comparison photo. I felt this kind of showed how severe the flooding was in this area. This is Barley Mill Road, just south of Hoops Reservoir. And this section of Barley Mill Road runs adjacent to the Red Clay Creek. There's about a 5, maybe 5.5 foot bank between the edge of the road and the beginning of the creek here. And as you can see, didn't mean to do that. As you can see, the vehicle on the left is in the same spot as the vehicle on the right. So the flooding here was really severe, and at least anywhere in this area there was a lot of flooding. Rainfall was centralized to the Red Clay Basin, primarily Burroughs Run, as shown by the rainfall totals on the left, and this is actually just until midnight on Sunday night. The red circle is primarily the basin for Burroughs Run. The rainfall totals here totaled up more than 5.9 inches, so it was really centralized as one location, which is kind of why Burroughs Run caused so much damage that night. At 10:45 p.m., the USGS stream gauge measured the height of the Red Clay Creek near Wooddale, Delaware at 10.3 feet. Flood stage of the creek is 7 feet. And 24-hour rainfall totals reached extreme levels. At Winterthur, Delaware, it reported 7.44 inches of rain as of 4 a.m. Monday. And then the graph on the right is a graph of the discharge for Red Clay Creek as measured by the stream gauge at Wooddale, Delaware. And this stream gauge is just south of where Burroughs Run comes into the Red Clay Creek. As you can see, the peak discharge is about 5,000 cubic feet per second. For a normal rain event, you would see maybe 1,500 to 2,000 cubic feet per second. And the graph on the left just shows the gauge height at 10.3. For a normal rain event here, you might see 5.5 to 6 feet. This is a map of the 6 major locations. I'm going to show you some pictures of Snuff Mill Road, Piles Ford in New London, 4300 Piles Ford Road, Old Kennet, and Piles Ford and Talon Lane, and then Brian will walk you through Way Road. So this is just a before picture of Snuff Mill Road. Just wanted to kind of give you guys a gauge of how severe the erosion was in this area. Here are the damages. As you can see, the flooding from Burroughs Run and runoff from Snuff Mill Road pretty much wiped out the side slopes of the road, and there was also some scour found underneath the bridge. This is a photo of the damage at the intersection of Piles Ford Road and New London. Runoff, so as you can see, there was some erosion at the end of that retaining wall, and there's even more severe erosion at the beginning, shown here. Pretty much runoff from New London Road created about a 10-foot hole there. It's tough to see, but that post is actually hanging there. And the reason why there was a hole there is because it punctured a hole in the wall that's behind it. And that made it pretty difficult to rebuild because there's about another 10 to 12 foot drop off from the bottom of that hole to the outer edge of the bank there. So we pretty much had to create about a 20-foot wall of stone to give us a stable thing to rebuild the road bed on. And this picture just shows the damages at 4300 Piles Ford Road. Just a stream crossing, and the stream overtopped the roadway and caused some erosion. This is the damages at Old Kennet Road. This is where Old Kennet Road passes over Burroughs Run. The water from the flooding got underneath the top 2 inches of the roadway and pretty much picked it up like a carpet. This was definitely the most visual of how powerful it is. You can see in the picture on the left, there's actually debris in the guardrail, and that just shows us the water is above that guardrail at peak flooding event. And then here's just the pictures at Town Lane, just another stream crossing, and the water over top the roadway just caused some erosion. I'm now going to talk about how we formulated a response to these repairs. Just going to quickly go through how we assessed it, allocated resources to repair, and then finally who did the repairs. The initial response and emergency closures were done by North District forces to ensure safe roadways. After that, detours were determined by traffic safety. This proved to be extremely difficult because all the roads ended up being detours for each other. I know Marvin had a pretty stressful couple days of trying to figure out where to send everybody. Then after we got all the detours in place, we needed to determine what short-term measures could be performed to reopen these roads. So we ended up setting up a site visit with environmental, agriculture, and right-of-way, and it was really beneficial to have them out there because we were able to kind of bounce ideas off them of what we could do that didn't require a long-term permit. We wanted to get these roads open as quickly as possible, but we didn't want anyone to go to jail in the meantime. So after the plans of action were determined, we needed to determine which locations really needed one of our contractors' crews to be allocated to it, since it's kind of a scarce resource. So first we determined which ones were minor enough that we could get done with in-house forces. Next, we determined if any locations were still under capital projects mate's responsibility, which lucky for us, Old Kennett Road was. And then finally, we had the locations that were narrowed down. We need to figure out how to best place our contractors' crews so that we could efficiently get these roads open as quickly as possible. In the end, Snuff Mill Road, Powers Ford Road, and Town Lane was completed under our open-end sinkhole contract, T2016-03401. New London Road, Powers Ford Road was completed under our second open-end sinkhole contract, T2016-03402, and then Old Kennett Road was repaired by the existing pavement rehab contract. So here's the finished product at Snuff Mill Road. We just basically brought in some burrow and seeded, matted, and then filled the scour holes in with riprap and then repaved. This is the finished product at Powers Ford in New London. Sort of the same ordeal. It's brought riprap in and then armored the side slope and then repaved. And then, of course, the finished product at Powers Ford Road, Old Kennett, and Talon. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Brian. He's going to give you a more in-depth look at the repairs at Bridge 105.
Thank you. Okay. Did I do something? All right. Afternoon. One of the storm damage locations was Bridge 1-105 on Way Road. The ADT for this road is about 1,000 vehicles a day. The storm removed the existing concrete floor of the bridge and about 9 to 10 feet depth of material on the downstream half of the bridge, exposing the abutment and the pier footers. The pier footer was actually cantilevered out, hanging with no support on it. The work was done under our North District structure maintenance contract with Eastern Highway Specialists. Myself, Eastern Highway Specialists, and T.Y. Lynn met on site, and the contractor suggested using the grab bags. That way we could get into the water or get the work done in the water without having to de-water and get the permits quicker. So myself and Doug Finney, we just looked at each other after they suggested the grab bag and said, all right, go ahead with it. So like I said, the grab bags allowed us to use it to make the repairs without getting in the stream. Did I already go? Okay. So T.Y. Lynn developed the plans and submitted them to environmental section. Permits were requested on August 1st, and the permits were received on September 5th. Now, anyone who's done any work in this area knows that the environmental section alleges there's a bog turtle in this area. I've been doing this for almost about 20 years, and I've never seen one. So, so we were required to have a qualified bog turtle surveyor on site at all times during construction, and this is our bog turtle wrangler. He's a pretty fit guy because those suckers are fast. Now some pictures of the old repair that was done with our in-house forces. Not sure exactly when, but they're pretty old. So, like I said, I don't know exactly when it was, but they poured this concrete floor at varying depths. I'd say it was more than 12 inches thick, and this is what actually we lost during the storm. And this, you can see the height of the bridge. This was actually overtopped during the storm. There's them pouring concrete. Some more concrete pictures. That guy in the middle looks kind of angry. And they're getting pretty close to it being done. So this is the plan elevation, or the pier elevation taken from the plans. On the top left and the bottom right is our proposed repair. I told you it took us about 6 weeks to get these permits. So in that time, the area silted in here in yellow, silted in. So we had to remove that silt area to get a good interface between the existing concrete floor and the grout bag, and the riprap that we're proposing to install. This is the elevation view, and you can see how tall the bridge is and how deep the scour was, and that was at the downstream end of the bridge. Like I said, we had to remove the sediment for a good interface. So we had to use divers to go in and suck it out because, as I said, we weren't allowed to get any equipment in the stream. But first we had to install the ENS measures. You can see our turbidity curtain and our bog turtle friendly silt fence. Picture on the left is the diver with the vacuum, for lack of a better term, sucking out all the sediment. And the picture on the right is our containment system. We pumped all the water and sediment in there, geo-lined plastic, straw bales, and that's pretty much it. And then picture on the left are the divers actually sewing the grout bags together, and then they would give them to the guys on the right, and they would actually put those under the water, dive under the water and hold them in place. Apparently you need to be a smoker in order to be a diver. And also, don't ever ask the diver about the bends. Apparently that's a very bad luck. So, once the bags were in place, we pumped grout into them. And this is what you see while the divers are in the water. There's not a lot of opportunity to inspect while this operation is going on because all you see are bubbles. Kind of just have to trust that they're doing it correctly. But actually, when all the sediment clears, you can see the grout bags very well. Since there was no dewatering, we couldn't get equipment in the water. All the stone and borrow had to be placed by hand from barges. That was a rather slow operation, but we got the job done. So, here's a picture of the finished product taken from the top of the bridge. And with any completed project, there's always the awards are given out at the end. So, there we go. Any questions? Yes, Vince.
Is there going to be a more permanent fix at these locations?
No.
And also, who approved the ENS?
Who approved the ENS?
Yes.
That was the environmental section. You want me to name names?
Well, the environmental section doesn't approve the ENS.
The ENS?
FYI.
Oh, well, no, the environmental compliance was approved. Right. So what, as far as ENS?
Yeah, but you have turbidity curtain, you have silt fence, you have other things going on.
Right, silt fence and turbidity curtain were on the environmental compliance sheet.
Yeah, and they also go on the ENS sheets.
Okay. So that's all I got. we can talk about it later. All right. Anyone else? All right. You want your cards?
Hello, I'm Sarah Esposito, for those of you I haven't met. I am going to outline the NPDS program for you, what we do and what we're trying to do, which we do care about doo-doo. This is dog waste, if uncleaned up, can end up in our waterways, which doesn't fit our motto, only rain down the drain. So our program, which you can see that is us, pays to do education outreach, and a little bit more on that coming up. But first, in case you forget, NPDS stands for National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. It's basically keeping... Sorry. All right. I feel like everyone else is way far back. It's okay.
I don't know what I'm just, there you go.
Thank you. It's basically keeping bad stuff out of our waterways. We're in M&O in statewide support services under Brian Urbanek, which is that guy. And right now it's just me and Emily Seldom-Ridge, that's Emily. A nicer photo than Brian's. There are four main components of what we do. The first one is our storm system inventory, which is portrayed in our NPDS map viewer. We do the annual inspections and maintenance for all our stormwater BMPs, aka ponds. We also handle the environmental compliance at all our maintenance yards. And then the fourth is our biggest. They're called MS4 permits, which are through EPA, passed through DENREC. And the translation on that is population-based stormwater permits to help clean up the sins of our past. And those have they have many different parameters, some of which you can see there. Public education and outreach, hence the doggy doo-doo. We try to educate people on clean water. Illicit discharge and detection, making sure there's no bad doo-doo in our waterways. Good housekeeping, which is trash, street sweeping, salt management. Construction and post-construction management. The construction portion is handled by Vince, Ting, and Mary. And then we do the post-construction and water quality improvement plans, which I'll get to that in a little bit. First, why we do it. Stormwater runoff is one of the fastest growing sources of pollution in our waterways. Basically, whatever you put on the ground has a high potential of making it into our water. And as we increase impervious cover, we also reduce infiltration and therefore increase the discharges into our water. I pulled a Craig Stevens where I cut off my own words. The The model on the left shows, in theory, how it should all work nicely, where the water runs off a residential lot, goes into the street, is collected in the storm drain, and then gets discharged out into the waterway. But the reality on the right is that our runoff is causing massive erosion and is a distributor of pollutants into our waterways. What we don't do environmental permits. That's through Anna Smith's group. We don't do stormwater approval and ES2M coordination. Brian Schilling, you might want to learn that. That's Vince's group. And we don't do guardrail inventory anymore. For years, which I'll get into a little bit, our group handled the guardrail inventory. I recently passed it off to Pam, and my warning there is don't ever ask Pam to do anything for you, or she'll put you in the last time slot on the last day where I was supposed to be. But Scott, who was supposed to be in this time slot, but had to change a plan, so here I am now. All right. Now getting into more details on kind of those four main components. For our storm system inventory since 2006, our storm drain network has been captured. Right now, KCI has one full-time crew and one part-time crew that is out there every day collecting our roadway storm drain inventory. Statewide, we have over 99,000 pipes, just about 64,000 catch basins, and over 6,000 manholes. All these are inspected, rated, measurements taken, photographed, etc., and put into our map viewer. And in 2018, we are launching a new version of that map viewer that has more updated software and better customization. In the future, we're also going to portray our assets in TSDM, and we're currently working on that collaboration. Just a quick sneak peek in our new map viewer. Like I mentioned, has better customization, including better search functions. Here, say you wanted to know the BMPs between 100 and 110, you could put in those parameters. It would spit out BMPs 101 through 109, because it's smarter than I am. And then you can use the action buttons to either zoom to that location or load the specific data. You can also trace upstream features from those BMPs or a catch basin. You can see the upstream network. In the previous slide, I zoomed to BMP 101, and then I also loaded that data. It comes up with some general parameters for that BMP. You can also view any file attachments, like the design plans or the stormwater report. And then you can pull up any of the annual inspections for that BMP through the view report. And you can also look at any pictures that have been taken of that stormwater pond. This is similar for all our pipes and catch basins and manholes. They have very similar views as this. So hopefully that really intrigued you about our new map viewer. If you're an existing DelDot user, you will be getting a email at some point in the near future with login instructions for our new map viewer. For all non-DelDot existing map viewer users, we are asking you to contact us if you would like to continue to have that login. As people's roles and responsibilities change, we don't know if you're still an active user or not. A couple of select users that we know that you need the map viewer in your non-DelDot, we will roll you over, but for the most part, please contact us if you continue to want it. We are going to make step-by-step video tutorials on how to use the new map viewer. And we will do live training if needed. We're going to do one next week for some of our M&O staff, and we can do more of those in the future if needed. So contact us. Our generic mailbox is npds@state.de.us. If you either are interested in live training or want to join the user list. Kind of some of the invitation on our, innovation in our storm drain system. Eventually it will have different, what they're calling widgets in it. Right now it's just the NPDS widget, but we'll eventually have an ES2M widget for all the CCR inspections. And especially, that'll be especially useful for our BMPs as they're constructed. All that construction information will be associated with that pond and will roll over into the post-construction side of things. We hope to develop a better process for getting newly accepted projects and subdivisions into the map viewer, and hopefully a better process for tracking different connections into our system, like that pipe that you see coming into our network from the outside there. Now onto our stormwater BMPs, and for those that don't know what that means, I probably said it a couple times now, but that's best management practices or stormwater facilities, or more generally stormwater ponds. We have a lot of them across the state. You can kind of see the breakdown of the different numbers there. Every year that list grows. In 2017, we added 66 new BMPs. US 301, when that is fully accepted, will add an additional 50 big BMPs, and I think there's multiple smaller BMPs like filter strips. Every year, the BMPs are inspected and rated through A through D, where D is a failing facility. Ratings of B and C have maximum work orders that are generated that go right to our maintenance yards for repairs. And then ratings of C or D have maintenance retrofit plans that get developed and then go out to bid. And yes, I do have C in there twice. That's on purpose. It depends on kind of the level of C, whether it goes to our maintenance yards or gets contracted out. One example of one of our contracted plans. Hold on one second. This is our BMP 21. For a lot of you out there, you might know it as our Jenny Run outfall restoration. This pond had a eroded inlet into it. It also didn't have a forebay, which most wet ponds nowadays have. And it also had a highly eroded outfall channel that you can see in the bottom right photo. Construction of this just wrapped up last fall, and we were very pleased with the results. It went looking like this to looking like this. The top left photo shows the repaired inlet into the pond. We had a new riprap coming in, and we also added a riprap forebay across, again, to kind of contain future sediments and make an easier spot for maintenance to come in and do maintenance. And then the rest of the photos showed the repair to the outfall. We backfilled in a series of rock cascades that safely bring the water down, the 15 feet change in elevation drop. And this is a good reminder to the designers out there that we can't be designing ponds that discharge at the top of a hill and expect the water to find its own way down to the bottom. It will find its own way down to the bottom. It just may not be the best way. So we need to be looking at this in advance and designing a system like this from the get-go so we don't have to come back and retrofit it later. Oops. Couple new things for stormwater ponds moving forward. We're going to have a no-mow seed mix that incorporates native grasses and flowers into it that will only have to be mowed once or twice a year. One, helping our maintenance folks that they don't have to be mowed that regularly, and also adding some pollinator habitat. We improved just recently the work order process for our BMPs. In the past, our maintenance yards were getting a binder once a year with all the inspection reports for each facility, and then they had to go through and figure out what needed to be done and where. We've since converted that into Maximo, where each type of repair for each facility is entered in, and depending on the need for the repair, it might go to a couple different areas, their float crew, if it's a structural repair, or the regular area, if it's just mowing and vegetation management. We're also looking into some research aspects for our stormwater ponds. University of Delaware has been doing biochar research for us. Biochar is essentially charcoal made from vegetation that's used as a soil amendment. University of Delaware has been studying this, incorporated into filter strips and bioretention areas, and they're showing not huge, but large increases in water absorption, which therefore means less runoff that's being produced and less pollutants. The numbers are coming out very well, and if you would like more information on that, if you're a stormwater nerd, feel free to contact me. All right, our third topic is our industrial permits for our maintenance yards. There's 17 maintenance yards that have industrial permits throughout the state. They focus on limiting or preventing our industrial waste from getting into the receiving waterways adjacent to the maintenance yards. Each yard has to have a stormwater pollution prevention plan. The supervisors or their assistants have to do quarterly wet and dry inspections to make sure there's no leaking equipment and all their fuel tanks are properly working, their spill kits located in the facilities, et cetera. And twice a year, during a rain event, the effluent from the discharge locations on each site is collected and tested for pollutants, and we track that to see if there's exceedance over certain thresholds. Some of our innovation, this is a biggie. We created our generic mailbox. Our maintenance staff, they have to do a lot of things, and there was a lot of turnover in our program, so they're having a hard time remembering who and what they were supposed to mail to each person. So we created a generic mailbox for them. That way they can always find us there. And we're also trying to terminate coverage at a couple of our yards. Odessa, because it has very small, and it is very small and has minimal activity. And Laurel and Gravel Hill. The permit is for discharge to surface water, and those yards don't discharge. So we're not sure why they were ever permitted in the first place, but we're going to work on that for South District, and that's a listener bonus for any South District folks out there. We are working on that for you. We also hope to have a better system for our quarterly reports. They're time-consuming for the supervisors. They have to fill them out, scan them, send them back to us, but if we can do something more electronic, it might save them some time. At the end of 2017, we put together a best of all our maintenance yards. It got put in one of our DelDot weekly publications. Just the first page got put in, which you see here, but the second and third pages never got put in. I don't know if you can see those, but we really appreciate what the maintenance yards do for us. For Emily and I, environmental stuff is important, and actually pleased at how willing the maintenance yards all have been on working with us, but we also understand, public safety is their top priority, and the environment can't always be, but it is, towards the top of their list as well. That's that. All right, our fourth and kind of biggest topic, like I hinted before, is our MS4 permits. MS4 stands for Municipally Separate Storm Sewer System. It is a storm system that's not sewer, that has some sort of public responsibility over it, either a municipality, DOTs, or even universities are held to these permits. They're nationwide, and they're based on population. There's a phase 1 permit for higher population and phase 2 for lesser population hubs, where the phase 1 permits are a lot more stringent than the phase 2. All right, so our first phase 1 permit is all of Newcastle County. Some of the smaller municipalities are separate from us. They have their own permits. But the bulk of the county is under our jurisdiction. We are 50-50 partners with the county themselves, and then we kind of cost share proportionately with the lesser towns. But it's primarily us in Newcastle County that are taking on the most of it. There are 5-year permits, and our current one expires this May, but DENREC notoriously administratively extends the permits, so we probably won't get a new one until 2019, possibly 2020. Our phase 2 permit is just a small portion of Kent County. This one expired in 2008 and has been extended since then. We are expecting a new one at any point, but is yet to come. The new one will expand the area in Kent County, and then will also incorporate a portion of western Sussex County. But moving forward, I'm just going to talk about our phase 1 because there's more to do in our phase 1 permit. So for public education and outreach, we are required to attain a certain number of impressions or contact with the public each year, but we always hit well over 200,000 impressions that we're required to hit a year. We have to participate in public events such as stream cleanups, and we have to train our DelDot staff, which is hence why I'm doing this today. And we also have to educate the public on lawn care, vehicle fluids, hazardous household waste, litter, car washing, and animal waste, which is leading back to the doggy doo-doo. One of our campaigns for animal waste was make sure no pile is left behind. It educated people in the Pike Creek watershed about picking up your dog waste after you walk your dog or in your backyard, because again, when that comes in contact with the rainwater, the bacteria can leach off and end up in our waterways. There it is again. Another large campaign of ours is Livable Lawns. It educates homeowners on proper fertilizer use and lawn care tips, like you shouldn't be fertilizing in the spring for all the homeowners out there that are gearing up to do fertilizing in the spring. You don't need to. You should be doing it in the fall. That's when the plants are working on their root system, and a healthy plant needs healthy roots, so that you should be fertilizing in the fall. The other big thing is that you don't have to double the recommended rate. The recommended rate is the recommended rate. So if you want a greener grass than your neighbor, you don't just have to, go from 40 pounds to 80 pounds an acre or whatever the recommended rate is. If you live in Newcastle County, you can go to this Delaware, if you live anywhere in the state, you can go there. But if you live in Newcastle County, you can participate in our program. If you complete the different steps, you can get, I think it's $50 voucher for a free tree from a local nursery. Oops, wrong button. And one of our last big public campaigns is 302 Stop It. It's a hotline that people can call in if they see any garbage or pollutants on the side of the road that they are concerned about. They can call in, and we investigate and reach out to the people that are responsible for it, which leads to our illicit discharge detection and elimination system program, IDDE. We are required to screen 20% of all our outfalls a year, which I probably should know these numbers, but it's a staggering number. I think it would be over 9,000 outfalls a year if we did 20%. So we we desktop evaluate all those outfalls, and then we select a targeted number of those to go out and look at once a year. We inspect them in dry weather, and if there is flow that we see, it's potentially illicit discharge, because in dry weather there should be no flow coming out. We follow up on all those potential illicit discharge, both from what KCI finds and what comes in through the 302 stop it or elsewhere, and follow up with appropriate enforcement action if needed. We can't do the enforcement, but we'll reach out to the county or to DENRAC to do the enforcement for us. Examples are restaurants dumping grease, homeowners dumping oil, paint, grass clippings, and our favorite, the illegal sewer connections. And no, that is not rust in the bottom of that pipe. Another topic is our good housekeeping. We are required to do street sweeping, a certain mileage of street sweeping every year that we try to hit. We have to control litter on our highways that our adopted highways and violators of parole handle for us. We have to track and reduce the amount of chemicals that we put in our right-of-way. And we have to have a snow and ice management plan. So part of that, like I just mentioned, was tracking and reducing the amount of chemicals we use, which by far our biggest is our herbicide application. Our predecessors, when they got this permit requirement, they had to figure out where we're using herbicide, and the biggest location is along our guardrails. At that time, there was no guardrail inventory, so that is why our program used to be responsible for collecting the guardrail inventory for the department, which I have since punted to Pam. University in Delaware is studying. They need to know the guardrail inventory because we're going to first try to reduce the amount of herbicide in sensitive areas. So where guardrail is adjacent to wetlands, streams, or high recharge areas, we're going to reduce the amount of application there first, and then, eventually get across the whole state. University of Delaware is doing this study for us. Unfortunately, there's no great outcome yet. They looked at weed barriers, which had very poor success because the weeds still were growing up through the joints. They looked at a couple different types, but the two most prominent were zoysia grass and low fescue. Both of those grow low, so you wouldn't need to mow or weed whack or trim them. They would just grow lower than the guardrail. Unfortunately, both of those have some problems. The zoysia is very invasive and had some failure success, and the low fescue still needs herbicide to be successful. It needs a broadleaf application to kill out the weeds so it can grow. If not, the weeds outcompete it. And pavement does work, but it needs additional stormwater. So they all kind of have shortfalls. So we're still working on wrapping up their conclusion and then seeing what we want to do moving forward. And then our last topic is my favorite, is our water quality improvement plans. It's where we get to do kind of some of our coolest work, although it's also one of our more daunting tasks. So our current permit states that we have to pick 2 watersheds and do these water quality improvement plans. This first round, we picked the Christina River and the Dragon Run watersheds. And we have to develop a plan to treat 3% of the, it's called effective impervious area, but essentially the impervious area within those watersheds. We can do that through traditional practices like infiltration or bioretention, or we can do it through non-traditional like stream restorations and tree plantings, which are the most bang for the buck practices. This permit, we just have to plan for that, and then the next permit, we're going to have to actually construct all those projects to treat that acreage. Plus, we're anticipating that we'll also have to plan for 2 more watersheds. We're estimating that to implement these current 2 watersheds, the Christina and Dragon Run, it's going to cost in total $25 to $30 million, and DelDot's portion of that is going to be $10 to $15 million. Kind of by the numbers for the Christina, it's 7,400 effective impervious acres, and we have to treat 3% of that, so that's 223 acres. We have been whittling down at that number, kind of as we're developing our plan. We've been doing some other stuff, so we've gotten that down to 175 acres that is left to be treated. For the Dragon Run, fortunately, it's a lot smaller. So there we only have to treat 11.6 acres, but it's not necessarily a slam dunk because there's less opportunity in the watershed to do different stuff. A couple examples of the projects that we've already implemented in the Christina. This is our Leatherman's Run project. It was a highly eroded stream bed kind of between Chapman Road and I-95's Service Plaza. It had 2 exposed sanitary sewer mains, and which was kind of the one of the main reasons for doing the project. Plus, we owned a lot of the land. On the other side was the Christiana High School, so we didn't need a lot of right-of-way acquisition. This project was completed in 2016, and you can see some of the stats there. We hope to get 7 acres of credit for this project for our Christina W equip. And there's some of the after photos. Other than some sewer issues that raised the bill, the construction came out really great and is holding up great. So it's a good example project and one that we hope to use for some of our other stream restorations. The second one is our Farlano Park. It's currently under construction now. And this one drains about 29 acres upstream. It's the example photo that I showed earlier of the massive erosion, both right where the outfall pipe is, plus down the hillside as it goes down to Leatherman's Branch, Leatherman's Run. This one we hope to get about 12 acres of credit for our W-Equip. And there, it's under construction now, but we're going to put a large impact basin at the culvert outfall and then do a series of rock cascades, kind of similar to that Jenny Run project. And that's about it. In conclusion, our program spends about a little over $2 million a year for permit compliance and infrastructure inventory. When our W-Equip projects go to construction, we'll be spending at least another $1 million a year, or $10 to $15 million spread out over 10 years. We're trying to partner with people as best as possible so we can be cost effective in some of those projects. A shout out, Bridge has gotten a shout out a couple times today, but a shout out to the Bridge section. They're turning into being a great ally for us, so we thank them. And kind of aside from that, I also want to give a shout out to our maintenance yard staffs and maintenance districts because they do a lot of work with us and they put up with us, and we appreciate it. So, thank you.
All right, everyone, so that concludes today's presentation. So tomorrow it's going to be the same time, registering at 7:30. The presentation with the opening remarks from the secretary will be at 8. Just a change, school is going to be in session tomorrow, so if you can carpool, please carpool. If not, you're going to have to walk probably far. So just to let everybody know. And then for the satellite offices and that kind of stuff, I just talked to the guys, and the link for the day 2 that I had sent everyone previously should work. So other than that, I thank you and I hope you have a great night.